if not, that's fine. But if somebody wants to make me the co-host, I think I'd be able to share
Grace,
just a
can you do
couple
that for her?
visuals.
So Berkley, you should be able to share screen by clicking on the green share screen.
Great.
Everybody has that capability.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see if it'll work.
Let's see. Okay, so
Okay, great.
There you go.
great. So, oh, this is gonna do it a little different way. Yeah, so I as my mom was saying, yeah, came to somatic based practice, and the particular modality I'm trained in is called organic intelligence because of doing social justice work and really seeing the need for kind of trauma informed care and organizing. And so that is a lot of what informs my kind of interest in, like, yeah, how is it that we can either be co-regulating together or co-dysregulating together, and that's really happening in our bodies and in our nervous systems. And so just to really first start off with, like, sharing how sweet it is to be in your old space, and like the way that the welcoming feels, and the like theme of each week with masks, or whatever themes you're doing, and the bucket kind of appreciations and what's going well, just like how much of that is really about kind of the nervous system support. So just to share, like, it's really cool to see how you all build that into your space already, and do that. So, sorry, I'm going to do it a little different. This is just kind of really brief. We can take deep dives, but in terms of understanding the nervous system, there's a few kind of helpful things I think about, and some of this draws from the polyvagal theory, which is from Stephen Porges. And like I was mentioning, a lot of what it takes for us to feel safe in our environment and with each other, and kind of be in our sustainable nervous system, we can call it, is to be able to have a lot of social engagement and a sense of connection, and like, yeah, that we're getting these safety signals from each other, and this sense of connection. And it's actually our social engagement system, which we talk about as the ventral vagal, that kind of helps orchestrate our ability to have more of our like active arousal states, and our rest and digest states. So yeah, we're really looking for safety with each other and also within our environment. And then we have our sympathetic nervous system, which is when there's danger, and we're going to notice just arousal, heart rate, muscle tension, different emotional states that come with that. And then when there's too much of the arousal state, and it's actually life-threatening, the last thing our system will do is go into immobilization or freeze, and that's the dorsal. And so just to kind of recognize in this moment, it makes a lot of sense that there's a lot of messages of danger coming in. Like, one, we're 6 months into the pandemic, or, the politics people are mentioning, kind of just a lot of unrest. And then also we're, checking apps for how hazardous the air is, and like checking in with friends who are evacuating, and so, or deciding, is that something we have to be thinking about? So just to kind of like normally when I'm like thinking, doing these kind of workshops or working with people, generally there has been experiences of like danger that our nervous system has had to kind of like rally the energy for, and usually in the moment of coming together, we're actually out of danger, and so we're looking for a lot of signals of safety. And in this moment, it's just a little different because there's a more live kind of threat, and so I'm just kind of holding that as we look at what nervous system support means in this moment. So again, this is just kind of a helpful way of thinking about how we can be in our sustainable physiology or our sustainable nervous systems, and that when we're kind of within what feels comfortable or okay, safe to us, and we are able to be connected to each other and like present in our environments. I'll talk about that more. That's kind of within our things are within our window of tolerance. And right now, there's going to be a lot more like fight and flight energy on board, some freeze energy that might be coming through, and just how normal that is when we're surrounded by or forest fires and some to the east and north, and just actually in the midst of a more present real danger. And I kind of think in with that, it's just helpful the way we talk about trauma is it's like unprocessed kind of fight or flight or freeze responses. So we have all these self-protective responses, and that sometimes we don't get to complete them. And so I really think about trauma in the way that this approaches trauma as like unintegrated resource that we're actually trying to kind of like let things complete and reintegrate. And so some of the way that this nervous system approach looks at that is like how we want to be supporting our system in kind of building capacity to process that unintegrated resource really gently, and like really by looking for kind of oscillations in our system, and supporting oscillation and kind of the ability to be in our like rhythms, whether that's the inhale, exhale, the more activation, deactivation, and that really all of our physiology is working together, and the rhythms all want to be synced up. And so also in oscillation, we practice this a little bit. There's a sense of like both and so that's kind of sometimes the ways that we can hold things that are more challenging, as we notice there's also some support that comes through maybe our own kind of soothing mechanism. We'll notice, oh, I'm doing something that's really soothing. There's a self-soothing gesture, or we notice, yeah, this is really hard, but I'm feeling a lot of like love from my partner, or we just like look out the window and notice like this sense of the sky, right? So we're looking for this kind of like oscillation between what can feel more activating or challenging, and then the things that kind of support that being held and processed. So a couple foundational practices, and I'm going to kind of wrap up on the talking through part so we can practice and ask some questions. But the foundation of this approach is really in supporting our systems and being oriented, and we're orienting to our environment through our senses. And so that's sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, so forth. And what that does is when we're able to kind of let our eyes go around and see where we are, we're actually like moving our orienting architecture, which is spine and all of this. It's giving us these messages, ideally, of here and now and safety in the here and now. And like I said, in this moment, we're maybe orienting towards like, what do I need to do to be safe? What do I need to do to like make sure others are safe? And so that there's going to be a different experience in this moment because there's a lot to respond to. And what we want to also like kind of be paying attention to is like, once we've done the things that allow, like, okay, made sure that the air filtration is set, and made sure that the food boxes can go out, and like supporting all the ways that you all are supporting, and taking care of yourselves kind of in those like more am I doing everything I need to do to be okay moments, then really getting to notice like, okay, how is it to let myself like look for things that are more grounding and easier to pay attention to, that are like sending off less of the alarm signals, because once the alarm gets going, it's gonna kind of keep going unless we like support our awareness going in other directions that are away from the alarm. And so we'll do a little orientation practice in a minute. And the other kind of foundation with this is around orientation to pleasure. And pleasure is we think about that as like non-addictive, really mundane, kind of simple pleasure. So it's like the pleasure of like, in this time, maybe it's the pleasure of like wow, I notice when I get to take a shower, I'm like away from the smoke, and like that feels so good. And I really like take in that experience of like, here's where it feels like really, really good right now. Or I'm like making food for myself or making food for somebody else. And I just like really, am experiencing like how it is to like cut the vegetables and what smells are there, and it's really getting to like absorb kind of the experience that is already happening. So we have like a lot of practices that kind of cultivate our awareness and building our awareness towards pleasure, because we have a lot of negativity bias in our nervous systems, kind of evolutionarily, but also because the world has a lot going wrong that we both need to attend to, and we don't want to be looking for what is wrong in our experience at all times, because that continues to send the alarms. So that's kind of just brief overview. We can't do a whole lot in that amount of time, but what's probably more interesting and important is just to get a little time together. Back. Stop sharing so I can see people. Uh-oh.
Go up here.
Let's see if it's
You
coming
should turn
unfrozen.
the camera back on now. You see the video projector on the bottom left corner, Berkley? There you are.
There, yeah, sorry, I think I froze, so I don't know if if I was coming through or not.
You're back now.
Okay, great. So we'll just do a little kind of practice of orientation together. Yes, with some Play-Doh sculpture, which seems like a really great thing for us to all get to orient to, and just like imagine what your favorite color would be in this moment, like out of all those amazing, silly colors, and what it might feel like to get to take some Play-Doh out. So that could be our, group orientation. And then the invitation now is just for people to really like let your eyes go around the room and see just where they're drawn to look. And before there's, there's going to be a lot of associations with different things in our room, but before there's kind of a story of what that is, just seeing if there's anything that just the initial kind of contact of looking at that, whether it's the color or the texture or the shape or the light, there's just a sense of curiosity in getting to kind of connect with wherever your attention is drawn. And then noticing as you're getting to look at something in your environment, maybe it's a furry friend or a Play-Doh tower or a piece of art or a plant, just anywhere that your eyes feel like drawn to connect, just getting to notice anything that shows up kind of in sensation as you're getting to take in what you're looking at. And a brief moment of seeing, especially if there's any sensation of more ease, anywhere there's a little more spaciousness, or the breath gets to travel, or a sense of grounding, just anywhere you notice in your body where that's showing up. And then again, kind of letting the awareness come out and letting the eyes look around. And in this moment, I know since it's on Zoom, it's always a little funny to like stay connected and get to do these types of practices, but feel free to like, leave the computer area and actually kind of follow any impulse to go and like touch something or smell something or lay down in a position that sounds really appealing, or just any kind of impulse you have, whether it's like, oh, I realized I haven't drank some water and really noticing what it's like and enjoying as much as that's available, the like experience of drinking that sip of water or tea, or touching maybe a beloved pet or a favorite pillow, or anything that you're noticing, like, oh, I want to connect to that, or I want to, move or be in a position that would feel easeful and comfortable. And just taking the opportunity to see what happens when you make a little connection with the bean bags. And again, there's the invitation to notice kind of the contact with that, and then a moment of just anywhere that experience shows up in sensation, or seeing if it's nice to get an image of that. So there's the initial seeing of maybe that favorite piece of art or that plant, and then eyes closed and just allowing that image to be there, or allowing that sensation that you notice kind of arising from making that connection. And we'll do one more little round. These are kind of oscillations. So again, just allowing the eyes to kind of open and get curious about the space and see if there's one other thing you would like to look at or smell or encounter, or another position or movement it would be nice to be in. An invitation to get cozy in any way it feels good to just, know we're kind of hunkering down in this moment and appreciating, the things that feel grounding, safe around us.
It is helpful.
And then just getting to notice anything that's different, any place where there might be just a little more sense of settledness or ease. Might notice it in sensation. You might notice there's a different quality of how vision is, or sometimes we'll notice it through sound, and sounds that we're able to notice that don't feel too overwhelming, or something that's nice that we're hearing from our space.
In the cars. It's interesting. It's really quiet.
Right, there's a different quality of quiet sometimes. And especially if you found that you wanted to get into a position that was even more comfortable, or that allowed you to kind of look around your space in a different way, we really, it's really fun. I love looking at animals when they enter a new space, and just how orienting, they're just all about orienting. They want to go and they want to sniff and look in through, look in each room and like really get online with what's happening in that space, and just like how good that can feel to kind of allow our systems to be like, oh yeah, I do kind of want to get up and look over there, or I want to be in a position where I can kind of get my 360 sense a little bit more. Or it felt really good to actually allow like eyes closed, and maybe there was the invitation to find a position where the body is even more supported, whether that's head resting in a different way, hands resting in a different way, and just kind of getting to notice anything as the body and sensations are kind of invited into just being with whatever is, and any place where there's just a little more ease or a little more spaciousness, and also an okayness with, yeah, this is, maybe I do also notice there's some residual, tightness in my chest or anxiety from this time, and just giving that, the space it needs to be totally okay. And noticing maybe also I can feel my feet, or I can feel kind of the support of the cushion supporting the head, or I can feel how my hands are resting, or I get a little sense of like nodding along, a little rhythm to my head nod, any of these things that might be happening, just getting to kind of feel them, how it's showing up, and then how you're feeling just in the overall. So the overall body, the overall sense in the space. We'll take a couple just breaths and moments with that before kind of coming back together. And I don't know if everybody got to see Grace's screen, or if there's a way we can. I don't know if I was just randomly referencing Play-Doh, but I really enjoyed that there was like a Play-Doh tower.
There it is.
Great. It is. It is a whole Play-Doh. Wow.
There's a Play-Doh tower, which seems perfect for, yeah, what kinds of soothing and playfulness are really supportive being together. So yeah, as we're coming back together, just wanted to have time for any reflections, any questions, just really holding space for like this is, like I said, such a different moment of like asking our systems to just like relax and be oriented and easeful. Like it's not going to make as much sense. Like those moments we get of it, we want to really relish, and then also just so normal to have a different higher alert. And really a lot of like offering to look for any moments where, as we're coming out of this kind of higher intensity, high alert time with the fires, just to notice like where is it easier to, be orienting, be noticing where there's senses of grounding and a little bit of, where there's pleasure, where there's enjoyment. You all have a lot of sense of connection to like purpose and meaning, which is also a really big part of kind of satisfaction and pleasure. So just really a lot of encouragement to like, let the system be in its whatever state it's in now, and then as things calm down, see how it is to just spend more time looking for the kind of support and ease that as it shows up as we come out of this, and get to be together on the other side of this, and taking care of people who are vulnerable, as you all do a really good job with. So yeah, any reflections some people want to share, or questions? I know we're going to wrap up in the next 6 minutes, but we have a few minutes for that.
I just have an observation. It's not a question, but I think that COVID prepared me a little bit for the fire experience of being inside. And I've had, 6 months almost now to kind of calm down and slow down and really be more intentional about how I'm planning my day. And so I think that helped prepare me. I was really feeling anxious after I heard about fires in Phoenix and Talent and places where they're not in the woods. They're, the last place you would think of as needing to evacuate and lose your home. And so it kind of made me aware that it can really happen anywhere. anytime,
Yeah.
depending on the winds and depending on the weather. And so I found what was helpful for me this morning was I already had an earthquake preparedness box
Mhm.
in the garage, but I got that out and looked at it and added a couple of things I got online. And it actually kind of gave me more of a sense of calm, knowing that if we were on a level 3 alert and we were told to leave immediately, that we would be prepared. The box is right there to load into the car. And
Yep.
so it's just
Yep.
an observation about how this whole COVID thing has really kind of helped me
Yep.
a bit.
Yeah. And noticing like, oh, there's something that I actually can and need to do to feel more prepared is like, you know, we pay attention to anxiety and stress and get the good information from it. And then that practice of noticing like you felt calmer afterwards and like really getting to like absorb and appreciate that. Like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling calmer because I dealt with it, right? Like that is it's kind of the thing right now. It's just like, okay, take care of the things, and then like anytime that bit more calmness comes through, it's so good. Just getting to take it in. Yeah. So real.
I
Yeah.
guess I can weigh in next. What you talk about is much what I try to do. I have a music foundation, so we're focused more on sound, but what we're all talking about are meditative and mindfulness techniques. I think you would agree in dealing with mind and body. Mind is really an important thing to try to get into, and no one can really define it, but it vibrant. You know, what I was noticing, and this is my 2 cents for your presentation, you did a very good job of relaxation and getting everybody to calmness, but the quiet was deafening at one point. I'm thinking, well, wouldn't that be neat to just have a little ding, you know, and listen to the vibrations, because I think vibrations play a lot in our lives more than we realize.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'd like to be in touch with you, Berkley, so I'm going to find out how I can reach out to you, and we'll have some things to talk about. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, vibration. Yeah, and getting to notice vibration in the body is a really special thing too. It relates. Yeah.
Other questions, comments?
Linda, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, now I did. One comment that I had, I felt that a whole idea of oscillation and being kind of aware, inhaling, exhaling, moving slightly, all that is helpful. Especially right now. I mean, I looked out and I realized there aren't any cars and there's no noise from the highway. And it's so kind of unearthly quiet right now, which right in itself brings kind of a panic feeling to me. And I felt like just coming back to that oscillation was very helpful in this moment, because I have had a lot of feelings of panic. As you know, Nancy was talking about, and you start thinking about what's going on for everybody and everything. I hear trees screaming, and it's just very helpful to have that oscillation thought and just kind of get into that. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Well, I want to thank Berkley a lot for that. I think we all needed it. I know I did. My